I really love how recovery and healing can feel contradictory sometimes. Where, on one hand, I would be thinking, okay, so my healing right now is not about focusing on the specific problem or the behavior. So, for example, the binging or the restriction. Most likely the binging, though, because that's the easiest one to pinpoint. And at the same time, and then I'll turn around and then I'll think, okay, I need to stop paying attention to all those behavior and actually go under and see what's really going on. And I really think both are true. Maybe it depends where you're at. Because at some point I realized that no matter how much spiritual insights and internal work I'll do, if there's no action with it, then it doesn't heal to just do this work. But I think also it's necessary to start somewhere, and that at some point the nervous system is not ready for action, and just having those insights is quite enough to start with. And so I'm amazed about how the journey is so unique and different for everyone, that there's not like, okay, you need to do this. Like, there's so much discernment that's necessary for your own healing. What do you need? At what stage? Where are you at? What's your past? And I think that's what I love about the process. And that's what I love about hearing about other people, supporting other people, is that it's so unique. And it started in a unique way. Your life is unique. My path is unique. But there's ways we can move forward altogether too. And one thing I started doing is tracking my food, which I've never done in the past, and which seems a little like, oh, don't start tracking your food. You're going to become too rigid with this. And yeah, I wanted to try it. That was a risk that I took, because I know that in the structure, a structure can become really rigid really fast. And now I'm learning, can the structure be more of a flexible containment? And the tracking is helping me not restrict, which means not binging or less chances of binging. And it's keeping me accountable, and it's just bringing awareness. And I don't know that tracking is good for anyone, like for everyone on the eating disorder recovery path. This is where I'm at, and this is what I'm trying right now. And so far, it calmed me down. Like, at first, I freaked out because that was too much awareness to the things that I'm actually afraid of. Although I love food, I'm also afraid of it. So that was too much awareness, too much like, oh shit, that's what I ate today. And so I freaked out and I binged. And then I was like, okay, let's try it again, but this time without judgment. So using tracking as an awareness tool. And then I went slowly, and we're not changing anything. I'm just tracking the food. I'm just putting it in the app, and it's not about changing anything right now. And then I was ready to play with different macros, see what, like, starting experiment. And every time I would play with a different variable, like, okay, let's change the macro, then like, that would be hard. But I got support around this also. So I do have a coach who's with me to learn how to not be rigid in this. And then I saw myself becoming a little bit rigid around it. Like, oh, the tracking really helps me feel like I know that what I've eaten right now, maybe I feel full, but I can look in the app. It's like, it's okay. Like, it's not like, it's like it calmed me down. I'm like, I ate normally today. I feel full. Maybe there's something else going on right now. And I could just put the food thing aside with the tracking's kind of taking care of it. And so that was feeling very safe for a bit. And now I feel like I'm at a point where, okay, now it's time to make it more flexible. Do I need to track every day? And so it's really like playing with the structure and adapting it to in real time to where I am in the process. And this idea that structure and making a plan doesn't have to be rigid, and that it doesn't have to be the same thing. Like, it's evolving. And a part of me is really happy about this, because I do want the anchor, but I do want to have the flexibility and the freedom in that anchor. And I think this is something maybe very unique to eating disorders, for people who goes from anorexia to bulimia, or restriction to binging. It's a lot of black and white, all or nothing. And thinking of something being in the middle, like a structure, not being all, not being nothing, and just having a structure that's flexible. Containment feels like it's marrying like the all and the nothing. It's like flexible and it's containment. Wow, what a journey. And of course, having someone to coach me on that has been crucial, just for me. So I think that the tracking, and not just the tracking, but more the path to recovery, requires such a high level of discernment and self-awareness and support to stay flexible, to learn how to make a plan that's not gonna trap me. At some point, anyone would talk about making a plan, even a business plan. I was like, no, I am not touching this anymore. Plans, they just get me trapped, and I don't like it. And I think that's what I've been doing, even with the business. This is the plan. We can't deviate. We can't respond. We can evolve with it. This is the plan on paper. And that was a strategy that didn't work with me. So I'm relearning what a plan and what a structure is. It's something, it's an anchor. And there's part of me that needs to know that we have freedom and that we can respond in the moment and evolve, needs to be reassured that the plan is not forever and it can change. And also that makes me think about how to go back to the concept of like, sometimes healing is about looking at the behavior. So like, okay, we're restricting, we need to do something about that. There's no way to stop binging and if we keep restricting. And restriction is sneaky. It's really sneaky, and we'll go just a little bit more every day, and then you don't realize it's happening. And that's why the tracking has been helping me to stay aware of what's going on. And so sometimes it's about, okay, let's go look at the behavior. Of course we need to look at the behavior. Like, we need to stop restricting if we want to stop binging. And so once this is aside, I feel like sometimes it's also about what else? Like, what's triggering that restriction? And we don't need to go super deep. Like, we can, and I think it's necessary at some point. There's a point in my life where I've done a lot of inner work, and I keep doing it because I love it. But right now it's not, it was bypassing. It was like avoiding doing action. And one action that no one ever told me, that I realized through all my inner work. So I'm really grateful for the inner work, and each thing has its season, and now it's spring, and then it's more action. So I'm really grateful for the cycles and the season and the inner work and the action, like, and all of it. And no one ever told me, or maybe they did, but sometimes we need a change that's more physical, not just internal. And that takes a lot of discernment it took a lot of discernment for me, because, you will say, don't try to change the environment and people around you. Like, go inside. What is it bringing up into you? What kind of healing can you do? And that's true. But more than understanding where it's coming from is, okay, I'm feeling this in this situation. Can I stay with it? And often when I actually stay with it, answers would slowly percolate. Like, clarity would slowly percolate of like, you know what? I can't stay in this relationship. this house, this environment is too much for me. And that was really, really hard to come to terms with and to accept it and to trust without knowing for sure if it would be the answer. Or there's no one answer anyways, it's a series of things. But no one ever told me, have you looked into your relationship? How do you feel in that relationship? In that dynamic. It's not about the other person, it's the dynamic that was formed, that was that was mimicking a dynamic of my childhood where the eating disorder started. But no one ever told me to look at my relationship as a answer to, helping the eating disorder behavior. So, and I'm not saying that once you change your environment, because, there's a tendency to always want to change and go there and just, that's avoidance. It's different. But I'm not saying also that once I decided to not be in that relationship, that everything, the eating disorder is gone. No, of course not, because there's still a connection, there's still things to heal from that. So anything that's like, if I do anything so that the eating disorder, the binging stops, it's never working. Like, I want to do aligned action unconditionally of what the outcome is. It just feels good because it's aligned, and we'll see the rest. So yes, making those actions, like tracking, didn't solve my binging problem right away. Change it, like a breakup didn't magically make me stop restricting and binging. If anything, it triggered maybe a little bit of it. But the more I do those hard decisions, a little bit at a time, the more I gain trust in myself if I keep focusing on the progress. And that's another part where I want to go. Focusing on the progress, not the what you're seeing outwardly, like, but I'm still binging. Yeah, but is there a progress in there? Can you focus on that? Like, focus on that. For me, the binging never stopped cold turkey. Like, I know some people talk about it, just make up your mind about it, just stop it. For me, it never did that. It was slow. Every time, sometimes a binge would become less long, or sometimes not less long, but I would beat myself up less for it. Even if it was maybe longer than the last binge cycle. And that takes so much trust and cheerleading. But at some point, there's no other way. There was no other way for me to go through it. Like, I could no longer keep on beating myself up. And that's one of the dynamic that was present for me to stay in that relationship, independently of who that was. I'm just talking about the dynamic here that I was responsible for. To stay in that dynamic, I needed to be in a place where I would keep on beating myself up all the time. That was the only way of staying there, of coping with staying there. So once I removed that, and again, it's not night and days, because, it's still an attachment. There's still emotional connection. You don't need to be in the same area to feel an emotional connection with a person, with a dynamic. But it also helped me stay to stay with the progress, really staying. That's the only thing left to do. Beating myself up did not work anymore. So my message is, yes, do the inner work. Look for the actions also to support your insights and your inner work in your own timing. Your nervous system needs gentleness. Well, for some of us anyways. And it was not realistic for me to think that I could just stop restricting and binging. That would be like bullying myself. That would be violence to myself. it's something I've used for 20 years. Like, it's my coping mechanism. Like, it's not okay to just, okay, we'll remove that. And maybe sometimes that's the right thing to do. But for me, it was not gentle to do it this way. Can I allow myself to keep restricting a little bit and to keep binging? Can I allow myself to do that while I'm moving through things? But I need to keep focusing on the progress of it. And even if the progress is not physical, maybe I'm still gaining weight from the binging. Maybe I'm still, the weight is not, still hasn't balanced back yet. But do I feel better in my mind? Like, that's important. That's so important. And that shows so much more trust to be able to feel like you're beating yourself less and still feel the discomfort of in your body from the restriction and the binging. Like, that's like next level trust in life. And that is a training for trusting in life, for other aspect of your life. If I can trust that I'm going to be okay no matter what the binging looks like right now, because I know it's the binging that seems like the monster more than the restriction for a lot of us, for me anyways. It takes an incredible amount with the backgrounds that people with eating disorder have. Like, it takes an incredible amount of trust and faith, of strength, of surrender, strength as surrender, to be able to keep moving forward with the discomfort, the guilt, the shame. It takes an incredible amount of strength, inner strength, to do that, and faith. And that is not lost. What you're building, this strength and this trust that you're building around the eating disorder, around the binging, around the discomfort, around like, oh, I don't feel good in my body, that's something you get to keep for yourself. It's your trust muscle growing, and then it's gonna go into other areas of your life as like the more the binging and the restricting is like slowly fading away, slowly, the more you have more space for other things in your life. And that's what happened to me. The more I could trust other things, the more I could come back and, oh, what was it like to trust when I felt really not good? And now I'm feeling really good in my body. I'm really feeling good in my body. I know I can do this. Because when you're in a binge cycle, it seems like the worst thing in the world. And maybe it's not. But it really seems like no one can understand the pain that you're in and how hard it is to keep moving forward. Well, I remember that pain. And I moved through it slowly. And so whatever other pain come to me, I can deal with that. My trust muscle has increased as I'm advancing in the recovery and the healing. So discernment, I'm talking about discernment here, where you're on your path, when it's time to do inner work, when it's time to take aligned action, at what level and amplitude to take that action. That's gentle on your nervous system and not oriented towards a specific outcome yet. And I want to believe, and I'm experiencing that more and more, where it is going to be okay. It is okay for me to want to have goals that are oriented towards how I feel in my body and like how my body looks. And I think it's accessible. I don't think it's like, oh, you had an eating disorder, forget about having body goals and fitness goals. I don't think so. I think it's one thing at a time, maybe. For example, at some point, one of my goals was like, if I'm able to not restrict and not binge through that season of my life, my body is allowed to be wherever it wants to be. And then I'll add another step. And that's what I did. And then I was like, okay, I've been doing that. Can I slowly start having goals and a structure around that? Because there's nothing wrong with wanting to feel good in your body and have fitness and nutrition goals.